Hey guys, Brandon here with Galloway Precision. So if you just watched the last video for the CPX 4 Goliath install, then you watched our teachable moment where we talk about mass-produced parts and then being out of spec in mass-produced guns. So now we're going to show you how to fit your trigger pivot. Now honestly, about the only thing you're going to need is some 240 grit sandpaper or emery cloth and maybe some files. Again, these cheap project source files will work, but what this is memmed out of is pretty hard stuff, so a normal file may not do it. You may actually have to go get a triangle file similar to this. All right, and this is for harder metals than what you're going to get out of a project source file setup. So we know on the last one, the pivot was the pivot that went into the trigger correctly without issue was about 221, and that would be because our trigger is right around 223-ish, all right, 223 thousandths on the inside. So just a couple thousandths is all it takes for that to be off. Okay. So if you're going to use a file, take and set it on your block like this. And then honestly, if it were me, if I were you, I would take a little 1/16 and push out your pivot or your trigger return spring pin and pull that out so it's just not in your way. Alright, so we'll start on this flat, give it a couple strokes. And we're not looking to remove a lot of material, guys. We're just trying to take a couple thousandths off. And most of you aren't going to have calipers, and I understand that. So what we're going to do is we're basically going to strip the coating off to begin with for now. Alright. You can see some of the casting marks, and that's normal with MIM stuff, no big deal. But this is why you will hear me complain about MIM parts and firearms constantly. And that is because with MIM, with any type of casting or injection molding, what you're dealing with is heating and expansion of the molds constantly. And molds are not cheap. Having worked in machine shops, Eric came up through die mold shops. That's what his dad specialized in as a draftsman. He worked in die mold shops. Molds are not cheap, so you want to use them for as many parts as you possibly can. But the problem with that is you start to get a lot of tolerance variations because of the simple fact that, see how much more it goes in there? Alright, so now we'll take our sandpaper, sorry, I got myself distracted, and we'll work the round edges, okay? But with the constant heating and cooling and expansion of the molds, you start running into parts issues. And I'm not saying every single company, oh my god, they're all terrible. They all do it. Do not make this out to be, oh, you're just picking on one company. No, every single company does it. SIG, HK, Glock, Ruger, all the big names, everybody does it because it is the most cost-effective way to do a lot of these parts. Case in point, and somebody jump on the original short stroke sky install video telling me that the price is a ripoff for a hammer and a spring and a trigger, because you can just get a spring kit that'll do the same thing, except it won't, because all the spring kit does is lower the pull weight. What our kit does is take 50% of the travel of the trigger out. So I blame our education system because we don't teach trade jobs anymore, and people don't really have a concept of manufacturing anymore, when it used to be one of the biggest things we did in this country. And that's neither here nor there. I'm going off on a diatribe. You guys are going to listen to me complain about stuff like that because, well, you're stuck here. Alright, now we'll check our fitment. And as you notice, we're getting closer and closer every time. Alright, so and that's all. That's all you got to do, guys. Is you're going to just fit the flats and the rounds until they go right on in the trigger for you. Someone will still make the comment to slow down though, I'm sure. Now, the other thing with MIM parts is they require minimal machining, so you will see machine parts on them, but it's usually just where they're drilling and tapping or cutting something off. And that's just because, well, the whole idea of a MIM part is that you don't really have to finish machine it, for the simple fact that, well, it already came out pretty much ready to go in. Where they make the most sense, where they're used the most, is aerospace, because, you know, some of those parts for those engines are very complicated. But they also get changed a lot. That's when you're in MIM parts in a firearm are just kind of like, eh. That's where a lot of failures end up coming from, because this isn't a piece that's just doing one thing. It's inside something that's making tiny explosions. Alright, I think we're there. We give it a little tappy tap. And it's in. The other thing to check for too is any burrs on around the outside of this thing. So we'll take our 240 grit and we'll just kind of smooth out the front a little bit. Go back to adjusting. And usually it's up towards the front here where the major problems are, right where it shoulders over. So that's where we're going to concentrate most of our flattening efforts, because once you get past that part, you're golden anyway. And the big thing is make sure you keep it flat on the flat surface so you're not getting weird angles from filing and whatnot. Of course, this goes much faster if you have a tabletop bench grinder or something like that, but I'd really rather you guys didn't do that. And honestly, if you look from the opposite side, it'll be hard to see in the camera. Let's see if we can backlight it a little bit. But you'll be able to put the trigger in. Alright, you can kind of see where it's touching, right? So we got our front to back good to go, because we're not really touching there, but we're touching on the top to bottom. So now we know where to concentrate on. So take a little more off the bottom and top. Give her a whirl. Guys have just sat and watched almost 10 minutes of me just fitting apart. Is it as exciting as everyone thought it would be? Alright. There. About there. I'll work this round a little bit. Start cleaning everything up a little bit with the 240 grit. Get rid of a lot of the rough spots that we created with the file. Another great thing to do this with is machinist stones. They work really well. You can usually get these off of like Traverse and other machining things, but what's great about a stone is it really does the job well. Plus, you know, you can have other uses for them other than gunsmithing. Great for fitting any kind of parts, really. But the best thing is I like to come in with a stone after everything because it smooths everything back out. Usually start with a 220 grit, go to like a 200, but you can see it smooths everything out really nicely. So I think we got these from Traverse. They're down in South Carolina. We buy a lot of our cutters from them. I'll have to double check, but you should be able to just literally Google machinist stone and be able to find them. You can get gunsmithing stones from Brownells, but honestly, at the cost, you're better off just going and getting some machinist stones, because they cost a whole lot less than what Brownells has for sale. And they're honestly, in my opinion, better anyway, but that's just me, haven't used them forever. Alright, we're about there. Now, since we're getting close, we'll go ahead and measure up. We're just about there on the front to back. And top to bottom, got about 2 more thousandths. So yeah, this is fitting parts. Don't always ask me, what's it like doing your job? You're looking at it. Alright, so we're sitting at 223. 223. Let's do a little checking. Oh, just about there. So let's take a little bit more off, and I think we'll be good to go. Sorry, blowing right in your ear. Trying to wear the headphones more when I do videos, so that way the audio is much cleaner. Working on getting some wireless microphones and whatnot too. high spot right here. High spot right there. Flatten that out a little bit more. A little tap, see what we get. There we go. Alright, and we're there. So we just need a little tap to get in there. Give a couple little taps. We're good. Pivot's nice and tight on there. Comes out easily. Goes in easily. And that's it, guys. That's going to wrap it up for this one. Looks like about 10-15 minutes to fit the part. And you're ready to go. So what you'll do is you'll take your trigger return spring, making sure that the hook, the 90-degree arm, is facing forward. Take your pivot through pin here. Get it lined up. And this is the tricky part because you got to get it lined up with this. So I like to keep the spring at what would be about the 1 o'clock position. And then just kind of tap that bad boy home. And you are ready to install, friends. So that's going to be the end of this one. If you guys got any questions, feel free to email me at tech, that's Tango Echo Charlie Hotel, at gallowayprecision.com. Be sure to follow us on social media here on YouTube. Like, comment, and subscribe below. Be sure to go down into the description for all the other social media links to Firearms Friendly, Full 30, Gunstreamer, Facebook, Instagram, and Vimeo. And as always, be safe, be accurate, and God bless.